All right. I did a preview the other day of the holes, but I've had a chance to play all of the holes now. So I've got a playlist set up in YouTube I set up two, one for the Christmas tournament 2019 and one for Grunberg Slopes. Um, if everybody likes the channel, please hit subscribe down at the bottom so we can get some more viewers on the channel. I was on Hammer and Hank's. I was one hole short of getting the complete set last night, and Hammer and Hank, who was another streamer, um, was on last night streaming for about 5 hours, and was able to play with him in order to pick up the last hole that I needed. So if you're interested, he's definitely already working on wind adjustments, and um, you'll get some good information on his channel. And hopefully we can give you some good information here as well. So a couple things I want to talk about this tournament. Today's goal or yesterday's goal when I was just trying to get all of the holes. My number one goal, if you watch my channel on a regular basis, my number one goal day one is to figure out what club I'm using and what ball I'm going to need. I am not worried about wind adjustments the first day, and here's why. People may be giving you wind adjustments for like what it's going to be, and not in this particular hole, but like what it'll be from over here. And I'm trying to look at like which side's going to be the best. So I don't even know what side those wind adjustments are for when you hear wind adjustments out there, because that may be for over in this area and I'm heading over to this area because I like that side better. So I don't normally worry about elevation adjustments until I figured out this right here. So goal number one is what club and what ball am I bringing to the hole? Where am I going? And then what direction? Okay, what direction, if I can spell today, what direction am I going to hit? Am I hitting to this side or am I hitting to this side? Which way am I going? So yesterday's practice was just to get a base, like what area I'm going to hit to and what ball I may need to use to get that shot. Now that I have all of the stuff and we're done through with the basic walkthrough on it and we've seen what the holes look like and what's possible, now I'll start focusing on making wind adjustments. And I will tell you something else about this tournament. There's a bunch of wind adjustments. I had a bunch of shots yesterday where I was at minimum club, and I used a maximum adjustment, and I got several hole-in-ones. Was very close on a lot of the holes, but there's definitely wind adjustments that we're going to need to do on pretty much every hole, depending on where you end up and where you're ending up on a regular basis. Those wind adjustments may not be the same as what somebody else's are based on where they're landing. So we've got a lot of work to do on this Grunberg Slopes courses over the next 3 or 4 days until the tournament starts. And now that I've kind of got a baseline on what direction I'm going to hit, what ball I'm going to use, what club I'm going to use, now I can start really kind of focusing and making some good notes on those adjustments. The other thing I want to talk about is Grizzly. Whatever long iron you have, if you've got a Grizzly 6, I think it's 96% accurate and got a 3.8 ball guide. So it will be better. Once Grizzly gets to level 6, it is better than your backbone because your backbone's got I think it's 3.6 ball guide versus 3.8, and it's only 92 accurate versus 96. So the Grizzly at that point becomes better. None of these holes with your long iron are we really having to engage a lot of backspin. So you should be able to get it done with your Grizzly. If you've got an upper developed Grizzly where it's 100% accurate and it's got the 4.1 ball guide, you definitely want to use that because ball guide is key on these holes. So Sniper, I saw a few holes. If you got lower developed clubs that you're probably, depending on what you can get, if you've got lower developed stuff, you're probably got a lower developed extra mile. You don't have a Sniper. You're probably looking at a lot of these holes with a big dog. And the issue with the big dog is that you got distance, you got curl, you got top spin, you got everything you need to get the job done except for ball guide. But if you've got lower developed stuff, you're used to not playing with ball guide. So you can make that transition on it. The other thing I want to talk about is power. Let's write this down. Power 5 ball. So Playdemic came out with the present ball, which is a power 5, very low. I think it's got one side spin, 2 wind. And what I've noticed here is that there are 6 holes that we could potentially use a Power 5 ball on. And if you have a Power 5 ball, it could be a game changer. But on none of those 6 did I need a lot of curl or a lot of side spin. So I didn't have to put a lot of movement on the ball. So that one side spin that's on those present balls is not a detractor. That's actually going to be a very popular ball in this tournament. So if you buy balls, those Power 5 balls that they have, those present balls will work very, very well for this tournament. That's obviously why they developed that ball and came out at this time for this tournament. So hole number 1. Exciting. We can actually get up here. So in the video that I show, I came in here and I was in this area down here with a Titan doing a max overpower shot, trying to bleed through this little area right here. My opponent came through. They were a little bit more to the left. They came in with a Quasar, and for them it was the bounce, steady bounce. So they were really paying attention to where their first bounce was, where their second bounce was, and then trying to bleed over. They actually shot off a little bit to the left and missed this fairway here, but they were right there. If they would have, the trajectory wise, if they would have been a little bit to the right, I ended up in the sand, so I was off trajectory a little bit to the right. If I'd have been a little bit to the left, I had a little bit more power because I brought a Titan and they brought a Quasar, but it is possible to get up here. I really think this is a hole that if you've got Power 5 balls to burn, this is a hole that you could get it done with the Power 5 because we may not have to use any overpower to get through this. And because we have such a narrow area up here, we literally could get up on the green. There are spots out here on this hill where I think if you engage it at the wrong spot, it will roll back down and you could end up bleeding off into the rough or into the sand. But in the mouth where we're actually really trying to get through right here in this area, there's a little bit of a flat area down here at the very bottom, and then there's another little teeny flat area here that you might be able to hold the ball up in there. But here's the thing. It goes like this, and then here's the green. So your ball's down here, and when you're coming up to the green, it's a blind shot. So we will, even if we get up into this area, we still have some serious work to do to get the ball to get up to the green. All right, that was hole number 1. Hole number 2, this is a big par 5. All right. I tried both sides and I looked at it. With a 3 power ball, you're out in this area right here, and you've got a long iron coming in. You can get way up here to the tip, and from this area way up here in the tip, I can't remember. I think when you're up here in the tip, if you've brought a 3 power ball, you may be, if you're all the way to the end, maybe in where you could run a long iron up in there, but I think you're probably looking at a wood shot when you're up in this area. There wasn't a shot to go over this with a 5 power ball. However, if I was going to bring a 5 power ball out, I would go to the right-hand side. We count this as the A shot and this is the B shot. I'm going to only work on B. I'm not working on A at all this week. B is the way to go, in my opinion. And the reason is that if you bring out a 3 power ball, and you have you can with a max overpower shot, you've got a window over here that you can land and try and run up. And look at the fairway here. You've got a long fairway. You don't have to worry about overshooting it as far as distance. You don't have to worry about this type of transitional area. You just have to worry about trajectory. If you bring, once again, you bring a 5 power ball here, I think you could get over to the other side and not have to put on any overpower. Now, I did come out in one of the videos I shot with Hank. I came out here with a 5 power ball, and I ended up way up here and was in my short iron range. So you can pound that ball down there and get into your short iron range. And I think I was like in mid club with my short iron. So you can get way up there with a 5 power ball, a lot safer than you can trying to bridge this gap to come at it this way. So I'm only going to be working on this side of the fairway this week because we do have a lot more room for maneuver out here. So that was hole number 2. Hole number 3. Okay, this par 3 right here. Very first time I hit this hole, I came out here with a Titan. It was in a shootout, so I came out here and I had a Titan, and then you're going to use, it's a wood shot, sniper, Viper. Whatever the wood is that you have that's got the best ball guide and the best accuracy, And really, ball guide is number one, accuracy is number two, and all the rest of the stats are secondary. Right here I was at minimum club with a Titan and a sniper, and I did a max wind adjustment and sank it. So I should have been in minimum club, which with my sniper is like 1.4, 1.5 per ring, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I did a 1 per adjustment. So there's definitely a wind adjustment we have to do here. So if I work the math on this right here, I made about a 50% wind adjustment and was able to put in the hole. So I'm not saying that we need to do a 50% wind adjustment, but we need to do something. So if we were in the 1.5, if depending on how you're going to play it. So ball is going to be important here. So if you bring out, this is your minimum red line with a Titan. If you bring out a Katana or a 2-power ball, your minimum red line is going to be here. So that means you're going to be eking towards mid shot. If you bring out a Quasar or a Nirvana, you're going to be probably towards mid, maybe on the other side of mid towards max. And it will change this. So pick a ball, and then you'll have to start working on what your wind adjustment's going to be. On the way that these holes look, I would definitely bring out low wind, like whatever ball. Like if you decide that you want to bring a power 1 ball, bring a Nirvana. You don't need a lot of movement on the ball. You should be able to maneuver it with a 1 side spin. So the 2 wind will help you. So whatever you bring, we're going to need to cut as much wind down as we can on every hole because there are wind adjustments on every hole. But it is definitely possible to get a hole-in-one here. And this is a tournament that's different because every single par 4 we have a killer opportunity for an eagle. Every single par 5 we have a killer opportunity for an Albie. And every single par 3 we have an awesome shot for a hole-in-one. Now, I saw a lot of people doing the rough bump here yesterday, where they're doing this rough bump and then bleeding it in. And you're going to have a fairly consistent shot doing that rough bump here. But I'm not going to commit to doing any rough bumps until I see which way the wind's blowing in the tournament. I like to see there are certain ways that the wind's blowing that make rough bumps more problematic. Typically, Playdemic will give us headwind on one par 3, tailwind on another par 3, and almost a pure side wind on another. So whichever one of these holes we get this on, I'm going to have to think really hard about doing, like whether or not. I don't normally like to do rough bumps when we're dealing with headwind. Now, you can make adjustments for it and you can work it out so that you can get it right. But I saw several people yesterday trying to do these rough bumps where they were underestimating it and they ended up clipping the fairway and then they went for a wild ride. But the straight in shot here is pretty nice. So bring a wood with lots of ball guide. Hole number 4. All right. So I did several shots on here, and what I'm working on now is I'm trying to see if I can do a max overpower hook shot from here to come up to here to try and get that ball to come up this chute. I've done this twice. The first time I landed out in this area, and then I made an adjustment, and I just barely missed it. So I haven't seen what the trajectory looks like on the other side, like whether or not once it hits out here, whether it's coming out. I will tell you that if you use an extra mile to do this shot, this max overpower hook, we probably don't need to bring a Titan or a big ball because the forward, like my red line was way up here. So even if I caught it right, I'm probably going to end up off in this side. I probably could bring a lower power ball like a Marlin or like a Quasar and start back a little bit further so that I'm trying to bring the ball like this to engage over here. With a 3 power ball, I did this shot, I think in the video, I did the shot with a big topper. And I came from this area here and went over. Now I was playing one of my teammates and they hit the shot perfect. I timed out the first time because I was just trying to see what was out there and talking. Here's what I don't like about this. Okay, if you land out in here and you're trying to go straight forward, you get very close to the transitional surface here. And when you're coming, you get very close at the very end of your run to running into either the sand or this transitional surface. So it's going to be very difficult. Repeatability. Like if you hit it perfect every time, you might, you'll probably have some success. But if you hit it great to the left here, you're going to end up out in trouble. And if you hit it great to the right, you take, because it's longer, this rough over here is longer, you take the risk of clipping the rough and possibly getting stuck in it. Now on my second shot, I didn't time out, and what I did was I ended up out here in the rough, and I was able to bleed out, and I ended up in here, and my opponent, Jake Easy, was out in this area right here. We both had pretty decent shots from here. If I was going to practice, there's two things that I'm going to practice on this hole as the week goes on. The first thing I'm going to practice is I don't like, and there is a bunch of opportunities in this tournament for this exact same shot where you're here, you're rubbing up against the transitional surface. If you hit a great to the right, you're rubbing up against this transitional surface. You're trying to bleed it through. So what you really want the ball to do is you want it to do an S curve here. And S curves don't work unless you're in a race car. So there is a bunch of holes here that have this same type of deal where you can land pretty clean, everything looks good, but then you're going into the sand, so you need it to go this way. But the direction you really want is in front of that. So it'll be a little bit difficult. So what I'm going to practice on this is two things. Number one, I want to see with a 5 power ball and an extra mile if I can engage this fairway. Because if I can engage this fairway over here with a 5 power ball, this area right here looks like this. So this spot right here is down, and then it comes up, and then it rolls down like this. So where you're landing right here is right here on this hill face. So when it comes in on that hill face, it's going to take a bounce. And you're going to, and sometimes on these bounces, what it'll do is it'll come in, it'll hit that, it'll bounce straight up, and then you lose some distance. But sometimes it'll hit this area right here, and it will take a hop, and you will gain some distance. So I'm curious to know how it responds if you hit into this area with a 5 power ball, whether or not from the tee box, I could try and hit here and bridge this gap and end up right out in front. And that's definitely worth exploring. I mean, because if you can be here, you're in wedge range, and that's definitely worth exploring. Jakeezy was in his short iron, and I was also in my short iron from back here. So we're in short iron range out here, but if we can get up in the front, we're in wedge range. And with all of the adjustments for wind on this tournament, the closer we can get, the better it's going to be. If I was going to just try and get out here into my short iron range, this is how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to practice this to see if it's possible to get out there in my wedge. But if it's not, or if I don't feel like it's worth the risk of burning the 5 power ball because it's not consistent, I'm going to come at this like this so that I'm engaging this entire fairway. So instead of pinching up here and trying to go straight, I'm going to move the ball to the left. Even though the danger out here is on the left, I'm going to move the ball to the left out here, and then I'm going to apply curl to bring it over. And if you watch my channel on a regular basis, what I'm going to be working on is trying to find out a spot out here, some kind of spot where if I've got let's say I have an extra mile, where I've got my white rings rubbed up against the transitional surface over here, so that when I put that curl on, I can do a max curl shot. So if you've got a level 8 extra mile or a level 7 extra mile or a level 6 extra mile or whatever club you decide to come out here on, and you're doing this, whatever club you've got that's got enough topspin so that when you're in this area and you apply all the topspin, your second bounce is on the other side. That's the club. And it may be a big topper, it may be an extra mile. You might be able to get it done if you got an extra level, or a higher level rock. But my goal is I don't want to come out to this and go, hey, I'm going to have to use half curl or 1/3 curl or 1 ball of curl. Okay, what is that? Because there's no markers on it. So my idea of what a half curl is and a 1/3 curl and 1 ball of curl, especially when people go, oh yeah, you use 1 ball of curl. That tells me nothing, because my idea of 1 ball of curl is definitely like, is that 1 ball where you've got your ball here in the center of your thing and you move it over so that it's right up against the edge and it's 1 ball? Or you've got your ring set out here, and when you move it over this way, you're on this side of that ring set, that's 1 ball. So there's a gap between these two. What's 1 ball? So it's hard to replicate curl unless you're doing no curl or max curl. So if you're setting up a shot like this, and I find that if you're setting up a shot and you're using max curl, if you play me in one-on-one, I play with max curl all the time. I know. because I've worked those shots so that I find a transitional area or some kind of marker where I can put my ball guide in the same spot every time, take the wind out, put on max curl, and the ball will come from this area and go right down the center of this and try and bleed out here. Because once you figure out the landing zone out here, how many rings off you need to be off of whatever your marker is, and you put that on there, you're going to end up in this spot every time, every time, every time. You're not going to take the risk here of catching the rough or catching the rough or catching the rough in the sand. Okay? So if I'm going to do this shot, if I'm practicing this shot, I'm going to try the 5-power ball, but then after that, I'm going to work on this shot with some curl to try and bring it out into this area. All right, that was hole number 4. Hole number 5, this par 3 right here. So once again, there is a rough bump that you can do on this little run of rough here, which is very narrow. So depending on how the wind's blowing, there is a rough bump here, but there's going to be some adjustment to make in order to make sure you clip this. And I saw some people hit it. I saw some people in the sand. I saw some people hit the fairway and end up out over here in this area. So there's some tricky wind adjustments to do, and we got to make sure you've got good wind adjustments. And we need to see what way the wind's blowing on this hole before we make the determination on where we're going to go or what our adjustments are going to be. Because if we get a headwind on this hole, your adjustment's going to be different than if you get a tailwind on this hole. I did see several people hitting from this area, but this area looks like this. And so it's one of those things where if this is where you were aiming for and you hit it, you're perfect. If you hit it a little low and you hit it great to the left, you're going to go off to the left. If you hit it high and you hit it great to the right, you're going to go off to the right. It's not going to be one of those things where you hit it to the right and then it follows a similar path and you're just a little bit off on the green. So you got your flagpole here, perfect's in the hole, great to the left, or great to the right, great to the left. This is going to be great to the left, great to the left. You'll still be up there with a putt, but anything other than perfect, and you're going to be way off the hole. I did like the shot from here, and in most of my play yesterday, I had a Saturn, and I didn't have a lot of ball guide. So I switched to a Grizzly, and I haven't gotten any. I haven't played any of those holes since I got the Grizzly. Put the Grizzly in my bag to see if whether or not my ball guide, where I can come up on this hill, and whether I can get a feed back to the hole. But there is a nice little run up to the cup. So you can either do a straightforward run up to the cup, or if we can engage that hill a little bit. But either way, when you're playing these par 3s, you got to hit it perfect. I'm going to bring on this hole right here a Grizzly and a Katana, because what I did notice was from down in this area and down in here, there looked like there was a shot from down in here as well. Now, I don't normally like to hit over sand and stuff like this, but there was a shot from down here. But if you're going to explore this shot, you need a ball with side spin, because with a one side spin ball, you're off in this way and you can't move it over enough to bring it to the cup. I mean, you can't be 2, you can't be 1 off of that. You're going to be in the rough in order to bring it to the cup. So you need a ball with some side spin so that you can bring it back around. So if you want to explore the bottom shot, you need some side spin. This shot from right here, you don't really need a lot of side spin. I think I hit this hole several times with a Titan. It was the hole we were using on the hole that got us to the shootout. And there was enough for me to easily get on there if you're on this side, because you got a lot more room for maneuver. But I'm going to bring a Grizzly and a Katana to start off with, and I'm going to explore those shots. Hole number 6. All right, hole number 6, big power, EM, power 5 ball, Grizzly, sniper. Now, there are several ways to go. You got the A side, you got the B side. Okay. Now, if you were out in this area right here, you might be able to bounce onto this island and then bring it in this way. And with my lower level account, I may explore that, but I'm going to practice both sides. I'm going to focus on the A side. So what I did yesterday was I brought out a 3-power ball and I went this way right here. My red line was out in this, and I'm trying to get over the longest part of the rough out here. And I ended up somewhere out in this area. From that area where these shadows are at, my Nirvana would reach to this, and with topspin, I probably could have got very close up here to the green, where it would have been a very short chip with my Nirvana. So I could recover from down here. So if we draw the arc here, anywhere on this side of that arc, you can engage pretty good. Now, if you were up back a little bit farther over here with your Nirvana, you're going to have a straighter in shot, but you can't be much further back than that and get on and recover. So if you have an epic fail out here and you end up in the rough, it could be recoverable. If you end up out here in the rough, it could be an epic fail. So if you're taking this shot right here, I would explore, if you've got an extra mile 7, 8, 6, you could explore coming in, instead of trying to, if you didn't want to bring out a big power 5 ball, to try and bleed through to get to this part of the fairway where it's a pretty wide section of fairway. You could come at it like this, where you're trying to put in some curl to bring it into this section of the fairway. I think you may be able to net a little bit more distance this way, but this shot, I will tell you that if the power 5 ball gets me out here, I'm going to stick with this shot, the A side. If a power 5 ball won't get me out there on a consistent basis, I'm going to work on the B side. And there's 2 ways to engage B. You can engage B up here at the top, which is what I saw, which is what Hank did in the video that I shot. Or what I think I would do if I was taking the B side is I would look at coming out here and trying to curl the ball to bring it this way. Because when you're in this spot right here, you have to ride right up against this transitional surface. That's one area for epic fail. If you overshoot it and you don't get your wind adjustment right, you can end up in the sand. That's 2 areas for epic fail. And if you hit the perfect shot, when you come through, you are trying to just ride right along the edge right here to come out into the fairway. So there's another rough area and another sand area. So there's 3 areas that you can get caught up in, even if you do everything perfect. Because what we really want the ball to do here, what we'd really like is to be out here in the center, so we give ourselves plenty of room, but our ball guide's going this way. So what we need the ball to come out so that we're here, but then we want it to go this way. So once again, we're trying to do an S curve, and S curves don't work in golf. So if I was going to come out to this area, I would start here, and then I would try and run the ball this way. And once again, I would figure out I'd be 2 rings off with my extra mile, or 3 rings off, max curl. Practice these. When you're practicing shots with curl like this, practice at max. Because once you figure out how far you need to be off of a transitional surface, 3 rings, 2.5 rings, whatever it happens to be, take the wind out, max curl, bam. It goes just like this, over and over and over. But when you go, I'm going to use half curl. This time you used half curl. Next time you used half curl and a little bit. Next time you used a little less than half curl. And every time out here, you're going to be in a different spot. And some of those spots are going to work, and some of those spots aren't. So on this hole, I'm going to start off, as far as practice goes, I want to see if I can get out to this area. As far as distance goes, if you were out here in this area right here, you're in long iron, probably mid to max. If you're out in this area right here, you're going to be out here with a wood. If you've got lower developed stuff and you're working this shot right here to get out, or you're working this shot right here to bleed out and you're in this area, you may be able to get that done with a Viper. If you've got, I would definitely not come to this hole with less than a power 3 ball. And I think if you were out here, you could get this done with a Viper. If you're having issues with distance and you're ending up a little short, then you're going to have to bring a big dog. And a big dog's got everything you need to get up there. It's just not going to give you a great read because it doesn't have a good ball guide. Hole number 7. All right, this par 3. I really want to talk about this par 3 here. So first time on this hole, I hit this hole and hole number 3. Very first times I was ever on those holes, I got hole once. And so this is another one of those ones I got out here with a Titan. I was in my max club was right at the pin. My minimum club was right in this area. I was with a sniper. I shot a minimum club, and I used 1 per ring. So I used the wind adjustment because I wasn't worried about wind adjustments yesterday. I used the max wind adjustment at minimum club and sank it in the cup. So we definitely have some adjustments to make here as far as wind. And with a 3 power ball, if I would have tried to get up close and tried to use any backspin, you're definitely going to be a mid. But this is a hole that you can run it up there. And these are pretty flat. So, I mean, the level of this to the level of this, it's pretty similar. So it's a nice little bounce going over. We make a nice little adjustment. We go right at the hole, hit it perfect, and you got a serious shot at it. What I saw a lot of people doing yesterday was doing this rough bump. And when you look at it here, it looks like, hey, you know, like this area here is here. Then you got a little bit of rough, and then you're here. So I mean, you know, here's your rough. And so you can either bounce over or you could do a rough bump, and it's all good. But that's not how it is. The way that it is this. You got a flat area, then you got a rough, then you got this. So this rough is way down, way downhill. It's below it's way below the top up here. And so when you go to make your wind adjustment, you can't get all the way to your rings to make a really good, serious wind adjustment because you can't get that close to the rings because they're way downhill. Whereas when I was up here, I could make a really good wind adjustment because it wasn't way downhill. So I don't have a problem with rough bumps, but this rough bump, because it's so far down the hill and you can't get close to your rings to make serious wind adjustments, while you may get closer on a regular basis doing this, I think I'm going to stick with the shot back here because I don't want to have to make that wind adjustment because I can't get close to my rings. So I'm going to definitely be looking at this one. I'm going to bring a sniper. Now, I'm saying I'm going to bring a Titan just because from where I was at with my red lines before, you know, the red line being here and the red line being here, I was at minimum club. And if you watch my channel on a regular basis, I'm always big on either being at max club or minimum club or at pure mid. But anytime you can get to a red line, then then you can work that number really good. So if you're at max or if you're at minimum, you can work that number really good. And with the Titan, I could be at minimum club. So my club is more accurate. And if you bring a low wind ball, but you can bring any ball here. You could bring a Marlin, you could bring any ball here, but I would definitely bring a ball, whatever ball you have that has the best wind. So if you're bringing a nav, getting 2 wind instead of 1. But bring something that has, and we don't need a lot of side spin on these holes, so you don't have to, if you're bringing something bigger, it should be about wind. So I'm not saying I'm going to bring a Titan. What I'll probably end up bringing, if I stick with the Power 3 ball, is I would bring a Kingmaker or something that has better wind even than the Titan. But I did like where I was at with the 3 power ball, where I was at minimum club. All right, that was number 7. Number 8. Oh my gosh. This is another one of those holes I've been talking about where our landing zone is out in this area with a Power 3 ball. And what we can do is you can bleed off and end up right here. And there is a serious wind. Even though you're this close, there's a serious wind. This area is here and the green is down here. And this is another one of those things where you can't get close to your ring sets when you're trying to make wind adjustments. And you want to bring an accurate club so it's got little teeny dinky rings and you can't see it because you're so far downhill. But what I really think here is that we have a shot to get on. From a straightforward shot perspective, you know, trying to get up into here to try and get on the green in 1. You know, if you were out in this area trying to hit a straightforward shot, okay, you could leave yourself a little bit of room here, but you got to negotiate around this. Then you got to weave. It's almost like threading the needle. So if what I'm going to, and I was just doing kind of straightforward shots yesterday, but what I'm going to practice from this point on is coming out to this side. So I know it seems counterintuitive, but anytime I want to avoid these traps out here, especially the trap that's on the left. So when I want to avoid something that's on the left, I move my ball farther to the left and then put more side spin and curl on it to the right. So instead of trying to hit this shot coming straight forward, I'm going to try and hit this shot so that I can actually open up this fairway and run up it. So the question is, what do I need to bring in order for me? Because let me draw that arc a little bit better. If we're out in this area trying to come through that, you're going to have this is your first landing spot. So in order to achieve that, what do I have to do to get out into that area? What ball do I have to bring? And I think with a 3 power ball, my red line was in this area. So I may have to bring, if you watched from the beginning of the video, there are 6 holes here that we could potentially use a Power 5 ball on, and this is another one. But the reward here would be, is if we can get this shot right and we can engage this so that we've opened up this mouth, we could get a run all the way up to the green. And instead of having to take this big downhill pitch from right here, we could actually get up there where we're taking it off the green chip where wind's not a factor. So there's a lot of stuff to continue to practice this week. But this hole right here, all three of these par fours, I think that there is the potential to be able to either get on or to get right off the green where you're doing a very short chip, not doing a short iron shot. So we do have some work to get done here. And I'm not sure what clubs, you're going to have to practice these with the clubs that you have and the balls that you have in your collection. But the safest play is to work the shot so that you can get a bounce out here, bleed through this rough, and end up in this landing zone. You're going to have a nice short iron shot every single time. All right, that was hole number 8. Hole number 9. All right, this is another one of those. I had one of my opponents, I played this hole, and I had an opponent that got way out here on the tip and was able to sink the Albie from that spot. And if you want to get past these trees, if we draw that line out there, we draw this line in order to get past those trees so that you have a straight in shot at it. You've got to get forward of this line. And obviously, the further back here you are, the longer the shot's going to be. So I would draw a line where the shadow is, and you need to be in front of that shadow in the middle or on the left-hand side. And there is a distance issue here where you could overshoot it and end up in the rough. I think from here, though, you can recover with well, I'm not sure. My opponents were using a wood, but I think they were, if you get way up there towards the tip with a 3-power ball, you may be in your max long iron. You're probably going to be in your minimum wood. And if you've got a Nirvana, it hits the same length as a long iron. So you might be able to either bounce over here and get over, or you might be able to engage. I was exploring the shot of coming from here and going straight forward and trying to come up. Great landing zone out here, lots of room. And you can get forward movement so that you can get out into this area, and this area is long iron. Once again, I didn't have a Grizzly when I did a lot of these videos yesterday. I had a Saturn on my back because I wasn't sure what we were going to get. So I brought a utility club. But every hole that needs a long iron here, a Grizzly, especially if you got it at level 6 or higher, that Grizzly is going to work. If you don't, your backbone would probably be your better choice because you want whatever's got the best ball guide and long iron. But I'm going to explore, if we count this as the A side and this is the B side, I'm going to be working on B this week. Just because I think we can get closer where we can get, if we can get over, we're in long iron. If you get all the way up to the top, I don't think you are. You might be. I don't think you are. I think this is like you're going to be in wood unless you're about a power 5 ball. And if you're about a power 5 ball, why wouldn't you just go forward and try and get up here into your short iron or wedge range? So these holes, this is going to be a wild tournament. I mean, literally every single hole, there is an opportunity to pick up a shot. So if we take, par 3s at birdie, par 4s at birdie, par 5s at eagle, that's minus 12. And there are 9 holes, and every single one of them has an opportunity to pick up a shot. So that takes your minus 12 to minus 21. So that means that you could potentially see somebody hit a 42 this week if they picked up every single hole. And so as far as like low scoring tournaments, this might be the lowest scoring tournament ever. And I thought that the Community Cup, there would never be anything easier than the Community Cup, and this tournament might be it. I'm actually, as a player, I'm fairly disappointed in Playdemic, because this was supposed to be holes that were coming out for the fall major. And if you watch majors in real golf, they play Augusta, one of the hardest courses in the world. I've walked that course several times, and I've been there during tournaments, and that course is brutal. If you've ever seen the British Open holes or courses that they pick, those courses are brutal. The hardest tournaments of the year, PGA, US Open, British Open, Augusta, Masters. Those are the hardest holes out there. And they were going to give us this for a major. I mean, I wish that they would make these holes harder so that when we come out here, we can't be looking at a potential 42. We should be coming out to this going, man, it's going to be hard just to get the 12. But we got great par 3s, so we could get a 15 if we pick up all the par 3s. but it is going to be a wild tournament. We're going to see some super low scores because there's a lot of holes that we can pick shots up on. So hopefully everybody has good practice and got a little bit of information. Most of these, hole number 1, extra mile, I'm going to explore par 5. Hole number 2, extra mile, explore par 5. Hole number 3, sniper, Titan. I may change that to Kingmakers just because I'm trying to cut the wind down. Hole number 4, extra mile, power 5 ball, I'm going to explore. Hole number 5, grizzly and a katana. Hole number 6, extra mile, power 5. Want to make sure I got a grizzly and a sniper in my bag. Hole number 7, sniper, Titan. I'm at minimum club. Once again, I might change that to a Kingmaker just to cut the wind down. Hole number 8, extra mile. And I haven't decided on ball on hole number 8. I'm going to have to work that out there to see. I'm going to try that, bringing it around. And I'm not sure what size ball I'm going to need. Hole number 5, hole number 9, extra mile, power 4, power 5 ball. We're gonna blow through a lot of power 4 and power 5 balls this week. I apologize, but I didn't make these holes. Playdemic did, and that's just how it goes. So I will practice this here with my lower level account, and with my lower level account, I can tell you I'm going to have to play it totally different. I'm going to play all these holes like it was one-on-one, and my goal is to get from point A to the green, take my putt, move on to the shootout. I'm going to try and give myself some opportunities to pick those up, but here's the problem with lower level clubs. There's a lot of holes in this tournament that you're coming in with a wood or you're coming in with a long iron. And they're the type of shots that you're running them up to the hole. And that means that ball guide is critical and accuracy is critical. And what you don't have in lower developed clubs is ball guide and accuracy. So with lower developed accounts, if you've got lower developed clubs, your first goal is to find a spot, get on the green, make your putt, move to the next hole. And so I'll be working in my 99 account, my low level account, to see what's the easiest way to play this one-on-one and where I have my best opportunities. And with the way the par 3s here, we're going to have great opportunities on the par 3s. All right, that was just kind of a basic walkthrough after playing the holes for the 2019 Christmas tournament and they're all on the Grunberg slopes. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.